Hello, everyone. I'm Robyn Grable, the founder of Talents Ascend and the Ascend Collective, and your host for Ascending Beyond Barriers. Welcome. Ascending Beyond Barriers is an inspiring podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable journeys of small business founders who have faced and overcome significant challenges on their path to success. Each episode delves into the personal stories of entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds, highlighting their unique experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Today, we welcome Cameron Duncan. Cameron is a seasoned professional with 14 years of experience in the manufacturing industry, spanning automotive, power generation, and electric vehicles. He has held a variety of leadership roles throughout his career and previously served as chief of staff at Proterra, publicly traded electric vehicle company. Currently, Cameron is focused on exploring the revolutionary potential of generative AI in businesses as the co-founder of Hallian Technologies. Cameron, welcome. Thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate it. Look forward to our conversation. We've known each other for a while, and we'll get into how we met, but tell us a little bit about Hallian, and we're going to get into how you got there, but just give us a little bit of history on how you started, co-founded Hallian, and your journey.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Robyn. Hallian Technologies is a company, it's a software development company that's located in Greenville, South Carolina. And yes, go Greenville. And it is, we build enterprise grade generative AI solutions for businesses. So we have developed our own platform. It's called Hallian AI. That's an AI integration platform that enables organizations to utilize everything that you can get from large language models, as well as build your own AI assistants and AI workflows, and do web scraping all in one place. So it's a centralized hub to do all of the AI that a business needs.
So generative AI, there's so much unknown about it. There's so many things that people are afraid of. What do you say to people when they gasp at you're creating generative AI?
Well, typically I start asking questions. So I would say, well, what have you heard? What makes you nervous?
Okay. I mean, there's things like when you talk about generating things, is it, are they afraid of generating untruths or things that just aren't real? And how does that affect our perception? I mean, there's so many things out there because of generative AI or just AI in general. I wonder how, my grandchildren are going to decipher between what's truly real and what's not real. So I mean, how do you counter that?
Yeah. So I try to stay away from the macroeconomic issues and societal challenges. My perspective is that it's here and it's an incredibly powerful tool. So it is really interesting to think about what this means in 5 to 10 years for society at large. What does it do to politics when you can't tell if a video is real or not?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I have some interesting perspectives on that, but we focus. I know that it can help businesses today, and so that's what we focus on. And so we help organizations understand how they can utilize the technology in safe and secure ways to streamline their processes, to improve the quality that they're able to give to their customers, to improve efficiency inside of their organization, to get rid of a lot of software as a service tools that they don't really need. You can do a lot of things with the technology as it currently exists today. And so that's what we help organizations try to understand. So can you get out of having 50 different SaaS tools and
that you
do
probably
it in one
aren't
place?
Using, right? I mean, a lot of people sign up for services and they never use them. And we had that kind of problem. We use very simple AI at Talents Ascend with our translating and matching of the skills. But we found early on that even businesses, as simple as it was, they would sign up and they wouldn't use it. So there's so many, processes and SaaS products out there that are probably likely being purchased but not used. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and not only that, with generative AI, it's easier than ever to have a SaaS startup. And so there's like 100 different AI companies that start every day. I don't know. I just made up that
Really?
statistic, but it's probably right. So there's an AI tool for effectively every department inside of a business. There's AI tools for supply chain. There's AI tools for
Sure.
contract analysis. There are AI tools for marketing, right?
Yeah.
And our perspective is that you don't need a bunch of different tools to do that. You can actually do it in one place. And so
Nice.
that's what we help them do.
What's been your most fun project you've worked on so far?
Oh man. I can tell you about the one that we're furthest along with. If that
Okay.
if,
Yeah.
so we're working with a Greenville based company. It's
Nice.
called Bunell Lemons Engineering, BLE. They are about a 200-person engineering firm here in Greenville. They have locations in Greenville, Columbia, Spartanburg. They just opened Spartanburg. They've got one in Asheville. And this organization, they had a challenge where they had 30 years of technical documentations that they had compiled in what they called a technical resource library. So
Sure.
it was a file server, and just imagine a bunch of folders,
Wow.
and they had put technical journal documents. They'd put textbooks in there. They had put in notes from conferences they had gone to. They had ASTM specifications. Anything that is related to geotechnical engineering or environmental engineering, they had compiled, and it's where they went to look at to solve problems. And so they came to us and they said, "Hey, can you? It seems like we should be able to do something with AI with all this information. It takes us forever to find stuff. Could you do something?" And we said, "Yes." And so we built them 3 specific engineering technical chats.
Nice.
We uploaded almost 10,000 documents
Wow.
to our platform, and uh, made it so. And we've actually have rolled this out to currently 100 or so engineers at BLE, and so they
Nice.
have access to these technical chats where it's an AI assistant that knows that it's an AI assistant for geotechnical engineering. So that you can ask a question, it will cite its sources, it tells you exactly where it got the information from, and you can use it just like you use ChatGPT,
Yeah.
except it's grounded in your organization's data. So that's what we've
Nice.
done with them, and we're currently working on some other projects with them through our platform. So it's one place for all the AI stuff that they would need.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it just and again, we use AI in Talents Ascend, so and we know that there's no way human beings could match thousands of candidates, thousands of jobs in the blink of an eye, and that's what AI can do. But there are so many other things in a business that need to get done downstream of those kind of tasks that AI does. So I'm happy to hear. And when you think about, we used to use encyclopedias. Maybe not you, but I used to use
No, I did.
hardcover.
I'm not.
You did.
I'm not that young. We
Hardcover
had a whole.
encyclopedias, but now think about the information that is at your fingertips and how much easier it is to do things. And I can just see the future of that. So, but I want to step back to the past and talk about where we met.
Yeah, sure.
And so we met. You were a score mentor, and I got matched up with you. This is probably, gosh, 4 years ago, maybe. So tell us how you got involved with SCORE. And for the people out there who know SCORE, it's the retired executives that come together and are mentors for business owners. You clearly are not a retired executive by any
No.
means. So how did you get involved in SCORE, and kind of tell us about that?
I'm trying to remember how I got hooked up with them. I think it was a suggestion from my friend Andrew Van, who's he's you might actually, do you know Andrew?
No.
He's around in all the networking circles in Greenville. Andrew's a great guy, and I think I was talking to some of my friends because I had just finished my MBA, and at the time I was a bit bored in my job, and I was like, I feel like I could do something. I'm not giving back. I'm not volunteering, and I had
Yeah.
this idea. I was like, well, I should volunteer more. But when I was thinking how I could volunteer, I was like, well, what could I do? I could go help out and like pack canned goods for a shelter or something like that. But I was like, well,
Sure.
what if I could use things that that I have a unique perspective on that I could add value in a different way. And I was kind of talking to some of my friends about it. And Andrew was like, "Hey, have you heard of Score? I can introduce you to some of the people there." And that's how we got started. And so
Nice.
yeah, so I just decided to do it part time. And the nice thing about Score is I certainly don't have the experience of an executive that had been around that's retired, right? But the nice thing about Score is that there's an entire network of these mentors. So
Yes.
I had specialty in the things that I knew, which is like project management and how to stand up certain parts of the organization and sales and marketing and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But when things came up about accounting, for example, I wasn't super deep in accounting, but there was a bunch of accountants that
Yeah.
I could pull in to conversation. So it's a great organization.
It really is. And to that point, because there are so many mentors, and you need different perspectives. So you may have a
Mhm.
retired executive who's worked 30 years at GE, or 40 years somewhere else, but then you need fresh perspectives of like yours that have just got their MBA and all of those things. So it really is a great organization. One of the things that I know they tell us often, is to, if you don't like the mentor that you're matched to, just ask for another one, ask for somebody else in a different expertise. So I
You
think
never kicked me
people
out.
are afraid, right, to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't do that to me.
Yeah. You were great. You were absolutely great. And when things, when I asked you questions, and you connected me to other resources. So absolutely a great thing for business owners to do. So, all right, let's go back to Hallian. So you went from Proterra,
Mm.
electric vehicles, and being a chief of staff, which I think is an awesome role. I've got the best chief of staff, I must say, in Miss Neela. So I have to brag on her. But tell us what got you into generative AI? What was that connection point of electric vehicles, up and coming, technology, to now co-founding a company in generative AI? What
You know,
was
they're very different. They're actually
yeah,
not connected almost at all, other
yeah.
than my business partner. We met because I ran a software project at Proterra,
Okay.
actually before I was chief of staff, and I brought him on as the developer side of that.
Ah,
And so that was that
nice.
connection. But
Sure.
um, I'll kind of shorten this. Proterra had went through some troubles, right? I'm not
Mm,
sure how much you know about Proterra,
yes.
but for those that don't know, Proterra went public in 2021, July of 2021. And
Yeah.
then 2 years after it went public, in August of 2023, it filed for bankruptcy, Chapter
Yeah.
11 bankruptcy. And I was chief of staff at that point. And so I got a crash course. Chapter 11 bankruptcy is fascinating. It's also awful in a bunch of respects, but it's interesting because you're effectively recapitalizing the business. So what we did is we took the business and we broke it into three different parts. We broke it
Mm,
into the energy side, the battery manufacturing side, and then the transit side that made the transit buses. That was kind of the flagship uh,
yeah.
location here in Greenville, right next to Brewery 85. And through that process, I got introduced to all types of different types of buyers. So venture capitalists and private
Mm,
equity firms and um, strategic buyers. And it gave me a crash course in M&A. And through this process, I kind of went through a grieving, uh,
sure.
the 5 stages of grief,
Yeah.
where I truly loved Proterra. I still love Proterra.
Yeah.
But I saw that I was naive. I thought that I had more of an impact in the
Mm,
organization than I did.
mm,
And so when I was thinking through, well, do I always want to be a part of an organization where I don't have control over it?
mm,
And after I did a lot of thinking and talking with my wife, I realized like, oh no, I want to own my own company. That's what I want to do. I want to build
yeah.
something. And uh, we went through a lot of iterations on what that would look like, but I eventually hooked up with my business partner David, and we decided to start a software company. And at the time, we didn't know what type of software company we were going to do. We started as services, where we were building. We did custom business applications, and we built data warehouses and data lakes and business intelligence type things. Um, But we always knew when we made the business Hallian Technologies, we knew that we wanted to build some type of product and take it to market. And it just so happened that generative AI was coming on, and we were both learning about it. And I just happened to have a business partner that is way more intelligent than me, and he started figuring out some of the stuff. He's like, "Hey, I've connected a bunch of dots. I think we can build something here that's really special." And so we started playing with it. We had the idea in April of 2024. We had a minimum viable product by around end of July timeframe.
Nice.
And then we had deployed it with our first client. I think it was in October. Yeah.
Nice.
So, and ever since then, we've just been moving. So we're adding features, we're adding new things. It's the fastest moving uh, industry in the entire world, which is really hard
Yes.
to keep up with, but it's also the biggest opportunity. So
Yeah.
that's where we're living, and it's really, really fun.
Wow, that's awesome. So where do you see the company going? Where do you see generative AI going? And how do we protect ourselves from, I mean, we've talked about this, how do we protect ourselves from it being used improperly? But where do you see the company going, and where do you see generative AI going?
Okay, I'll do the company first. We are focused on, so AI assistants are interesting.
Yeah,
When I say an AI assistant, it's effectively a business centric chat GPT, but it
right.
can be any large language model. So you can use Gemini, you can use Claude, you can use the Llama models from Meta. There's many, many models out there, but it's effectively an assistant that's designed to help you do your job more efficiently and more effectively. All right, so
Right.
that's the AI assistant side. And we see between like a 20 to 40% efficiency increase when an organization truly utilizes an assistant.
Sure.
And those are interesting. And our platform gives you the ability to have unlimited assistants. So as many as you want. You can have one for every single department. You can have
Wow.
multiple for each department. But the more interesting side of this is what we call AI workflows. And that's the
Mm.
idea of if you have a process that's like a knowledge work process,
Yeah.
these exist everywhere throughout businesses. A very simple example is like a contract analysis. Okay.
Okay.
So with a contract analysis, you have a, a company's standard terms and conditions.
Right.
And then what happens is a vendor, they want to bring on a vendor, and that vendor has their own terms and conditions, right? So they'll say, here's our contract. And then that process to do that analysis on what do we want to sign up for, what do we not want to sign up for,
Yeah.
takes a long time, maybe 10 hours. Let's just say it's 10 hours. And it takes a long time because you have to use your brain. You have to look at this one unstructured document from your vendor and your unstructured document that's your own terms and conditions, and you effectively go through with a highlighter and you compare the two, and then you summarize it, and then you figure out what to do, and then you hand it over to your attorney, and they do the same thing, and you generate red lines, and then it's like this back and forth process.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can do with an AI workflow, you can embed your company's standard terms and conditions into the back end process of your workflow. And then you can upload a new contract and then have it instantly do the analysis. So
Wow.
I want to look at for each of these clauses, these are the ones that really matter to us. And I want you to pull out the ones that are red flags. And then based off of the clause that you found from the vendor's contract, rewrite it in a way that is in alignment with our terms and conditions. So you greatly speed up this process. It's not eliminating the need for attorneys, but
Right.
it greatly shortens the amount of time that it takes you to do this type of analysis. And
Yeah.
this is a very simple example, but there are hundreds and hundreds of processes like this inside
Yeah.
of every business that you don't have. You have defined inputs and a defined output, but the middle is a lot of yada yada yada. It's often not written down because it
Yeah.
takes a human to go through it, and you kind of have it's kind of ad hoc.
Yeah.
And we build AI workflows that solve those problems. And we see
Nice.
that as a huge opportunity for
Yeah.
businesses. And we, yeah. So that's what we're really focused on right now is
Well,
building that
I'm
out in a
nodding
way
my
that,
head. Well, I hate to cut you off. I'm nodding my
yeah.
head because I was a relationship manager with ADP for 15 years. And I worked for some of the Fortune 50 companies. Every time we had a contract renewal, I had to go through that process. I had to take ADP's paper and the client's paper and try to match the two together. And I'm not a legal ease person, so yeah, I mean, it was tough to figure out where are the differences. And I would be like, oh my gosh, I just can't even think through this. So that's an awesome example. I totally
So I know we're
resonate
zooming
with.
in on this example, but here's just an example. So we did a demo of a contract analysis last Friday, actually, for a potential client. And when we did the demo, I generated through our AI workflow. They actually gave me, I got their terms and conditions, and I got like an actual contract from one of their clients. And we did a comparison, and they're looking at it right now to see how it matches with the actual red lines that their legal team came up with. But I created in 2.5 minutes 37 pages of detailed analysis that you can then hand directly to the attorney. Two and
It's
a half
amazing.
minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, the flip side of that is people are afraid that, oh my gosh, now, as me as a relationship manager, it was one of my jobs to do contract analysis and contract renewals. Is that going to take my job away? Well,
Mm,
no, because there's so many other parts of the job. There's so many other
yeah.
pieces of a business that have to get done when you can use AI or these tools effectively. It's no different than using any other tools out there. So my point is, I think people need to stop being afraid of automation and being able to do things quicker and more efficiently so that they have time to do other things in their business. So, wow,
My
so
belief
exciting.
my belief is that there's two ways to view it. So one is from a fear perspective, and the other
Yeah.
way is from an opportunity perspective. I see it
Yeah.
as opportunity. I think it's
Yep.
actually
Me
the
too.
biggest opportunity that we have as a species.
Yeah.
And like in my lifetime, maybe in the last 100 to 200 years, I view it as like an industrial revolution. And so
Exactly.
things will change for sure,
Yeah.
but it has the opportunity to make it so that you can do your most valuable and important work. You don't have to get bogged down into the tediousness. Nobody likes to do the highlighting of two different things. So you can zoom out, and we can do things that we are
Yeah.
actually really really good at. That gives
Yes.
us purpose. That gives us meaning. So you
Yeah.
can do these meaningful, because work can be fulfilling. You and I both
Yeah.
know this, right?
Yes.
And so that's really my goal and my hope, is that this gives us the ability to do work that we actually really care about, that really
Yeah.
drives the needle, not only for us, but for our business and for society at large.
And it also cuts down on risks of errors because I mean I could miss something. One, because I've just my eyes have glazed over at some point and I just miss something, or I just don't know to catch it, in my human brain. But there's a great way to use these tools to catch errors and keep errors from happening. So anyway,
Yeah,
we're
imagine
yeah,
one more quick example. So
yeah,
imagine, so my background is engineering. And on the engineering side, there's these things in manufacturing called DFMEA, which stands for Design Failure Mode Element Analysis. Okay. And
wow,
every time you make a new product, you need to do one of these DFMEAs. And they are incredibly complicated. And what you're doing is you're saying, what are all the ways that this product can fail? And
okay,
based off all the ways that this product can fail, how severe is it and how likely is it? And you get a risk score for every single one of these things. And then you use that to say, okay, do we need to put in mitigating factors on quality inspection for this,
yeah.
or can we do something on the design side that like eliminates this thing that is highly risky and highly likely? Every engineer does these differently, but imagine
Mm,
you can make an AI workflow that helps you write these DFMEAs, and no matter who in the engineering department does it, you know that it's going to be done the same way every single time.
nice.
So it's it enables you to make uh, quality processes over and over and over
Yeah.
for anybody within the organization. You're not reliant on one person inside the organization that knows how to do that thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great point, because if you can have that uniformity, people don't have to be as afraid of maybe, taking a couple of risks, but because they know that the process is going to help them through that. So that's awesome. So we have just a couple of minutes left, but I want your advice on, so, what's been your biggest challenge in starting the business? What do you see as, a challenge going forward, and how have you overcome that?
Biggest challenge of the business is okay. Biggest challenge of the business is that we have decided not to take any capital. And
Okay.
so we're a small team, and we
Yeah.
are fighting against the odds.
Yes.
Uh, we are an AI company in Greenville, South Carolina.
Right.
If you talk to most investors, they don't believe that you can only be an
Yeah.
AI company in San Francisco
Right.
or in Boston or in New York, not in
Exactly.
Greenville, South Carolina. But
Yeah.
we are taking a bet that this will go hyper local. We believe that we can be the primary AI resource for South Carolina, for the
Nice.
South, and that's what we're trying to do.
For you.
But because we are doing our funding is bootstrapped. We
Yeah.
have not taken any investments.
Yeah.
That has its own challenges, as I know
Yes.
that Robyn. Yeah,
Yes.
so we're tight on budgets. We're
Yes.
incredibly careful on what we buy, what we don't buy. We're very very careful on marketing spend. So those are our current challenges, and we're trying to be creative on how we get the word out about what we're doing.
That's a great point. And I think really great advice for companies, because a lot of people think, well, I have to, especially with an AI or a SaaS model, you've got to get a VC or you've got to get a private equity funding. But there's challenges with that. If you let somebody else in your business and want to run your business or control something in your business. So good for you guys. So what would you tell a new up and coming business owner that wants to start their own business? What would your advice be from your score expertise, and now running your own business? What's your best bit advice for a business owner?
Uh, Pick a co-founder that's really really smart and smarter than you, that you can rely on and trust. But I do
Yeah.
think if you're in a technology startup and you're not a tech person, you need to have you need to have a co-founder, and that co-founder needs to be incredibly good at what they do. So
Absolutely.
that's the first thing. And I would also say, um, it's you don't need to go the venture capital route, especially with the technology that exists today. So
Yeah.
you can have a bootstrapped SaaS startup that actually supplements your income, and it is hard work. I'm not saying it's not hard work, but
Yeah.
um, I think the incentives in venture capital land are just weird. It changes the game on
Those.
what actually makes a good business. Is the point to have a cash flowing business, or
Yeah.
is the point to just grow as fast as you humanly can
Yeah.
with the hope that someday you'll be profitable? I think you can be profitable starting off. So
Sure.
I would really challenge them to think about the P&L now. Like,
Yeah.
how can you make money now? So
Right.
if you're not getting funding, like, then can you do services? Can you play in
Sure.
your space and find ways that you can add value that maybe isn't just selling your product? Maybe it's
Yeah.
you're helping coach people through, but that's there's nothing like actually learning how to make money as a business to drive you to the right decisions.
Yeah.
And so I just think VCs, at some point they make sense, but really being careful about when you make those choices about going for funding, and making sure that you're ready for it.
Yeah, no, great point. I think that when you bring in, again, an outside party, it takes you away from your why. And a lot of business owners start with a why. They have a reason they want to do what they're doing. And the further you get away from that why, you lose that integrity, that, what makes you tick. So
Yeah.
Cameron, thank you so much for being on. This has been so much fun. I've loved learning about Hallian Technologies, and hopefully people listening will be a little less scared of generative AI going forward. So all the best to you, and look forward to watching your success here in Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah, that Greenville. Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Robyn.